welcome everyone to the second non-outdoor, non-bonfire episode of Skyline, as it were. The show where we just talk. It's a chat show. And I'm
Yeah.
joined today by Anne. Feel free to
Hello.
introduce yourself however you like.
Hi. I'm Anne. I'm also a Knox student, chemistry major, computer science minor. Um, yeah.
So, so that's Anne. Anne's lovely. We were roommates my freshman year, and also my not roommates, it's suite mates.
Yes,
Freshman
teammates.
year and junior year. Um,
Yeah.
so speaking of Knox, actually something I've kind of wanted to talk to you about. I feel like I talked to you about it freshman year, but not much after. Is like, um, what were the series of decisions that led to you going to Knox? I'm always interested to hear this, like why people went to the college we go to.
Oh yeah. So let's see the hierarchy of priorities. So one, my dad works at Bradley, and through that he has a tuition exchange program. So basically, I can go to any school in the Midwest that's on a particular list for like $35,000 cheaper a year.
Whoa.
So yeah, it's pretty great. Um, so first it was okay. I want to do one of those schools, and then also my parents, especially my dad, have been always a proponent of the liberal arts of the small liberal arts school experience. So my dad went to one. Oh, there's my computer. Um, and in for undergrad and enjoyed it, and mom went to U of I for undergrad and loathed it. So they impressed upon me the importance of
We'll just kind of jump right into where we left off, I suppose, which is you talking about, which was 24 minutes ago about. But
yes, we were
talking about,
talking about. Had I gotten to the point where I made a spreadsheet yet?
I
When
don't think
did I
so.
cut out? When did I cut out
Um,
for you?
I think you cut out. Uh, your mom and dad were talking about the virtues of like a liberal arts education, and
Right. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So, are we recording again or?
yeah, we are.
Okay. Cool. Um, yeah. So, my parents had impressed upon me the virtues of a liberal arts education, so I decided, yeah, I want one of those. Um, and so of the ones I looked at, the two that I liked most were Bradley and Knox.
Hmm.
And so at that point, I then made a spreadsheet where I gave, I made a bunch of different categories that I felt, I felt like would affect my decision.
Hmm.
And then gave each school a score in each of those categories, and then gave each category a weight. And so score times weight made the score for that, and then I added all of those numbers up. And the first time I did it, Knox won by like zero point 0.3 points,
Oh,
um, out of about 70. So what I took that to mean was there isn't a bad option here. Both of these options would work fine
yeah.
for me.
It's in
But
like the realm of it's like the margin of error, right? Like it's such a
oh yeah,
small
yeah.
percent. Yeah.
The scores are definitely subjective, and even after I did it, I adjusted the scores, gave Knox a couple more points in a couple of places. Knox won by like 3 points,
Mm.
but I could also tell that I was like I kind of wanted Knox to win, and that was also what told me, oh, I want to go to Knox.
Yeah.
So
Why do
that ended up being what I did.
why do you think you wanted Knox to be the winner? What do you think was the contributing factor to that?
I don't really know per se, but
One of those gut feelings.
um,
One of those.
yeah, at least now I'm I'm very glad I did, in large part because of the fact that even though it's only 45 minutes away from my parents,
Mm-hmm.
it is 45 minutes away from my parents. Um, so just having that little bit of extra distance,
Yeah.
being a little bit more independent, and just also I really like Knox. I do, and it's it's small enough that my friend groups keep overlapping, and
Mm-hmm.
it's always it's good. I like it,
Yeah.
so I think I made a good choice.
I think so too. I mean, you're always only one person removed from like anyone else, like one or two people.
Right?
Um,
Yeah.
so you know, which is both like
Yeah.
it's a blessing and a curse, right? It's like,
Right.
um, on one hand, it's like, oh, everyone knows everyone, and on the other hand, you're like, oh my goodness, everyone knows everyone.
Yeah. Exactly.
um,
It's been mostly good for me because like someone will mention somebody and I'm like, oh hey, I know them too from a completely different group of friends. Okay.
yeah. What?
I didn't know you knew each other, but that's cool.
That's a weird one when you didn't realize two people knew each other in any way, but they
Yeah.
do.
And like, I mean, honestly, at least for me, it does make sense because like a very large portion of my friends have some interest in like tabletop RPGs or
Yeah.
other such things, and so it's like okay, of the people who would know each other, the people who do that are probably pretty likely. Um,
Yeah. And I
but
and I think I mean we're inevitably going to talk about D&D at some point during this because we
oh,
both
certainly.
it's something we both share, a passion we both love. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but real quick, I'm very curious. With that, it may have been a while. You may not remember fully, but with the spreadsheet you made, what are some things that? What were the disparities between Bradley and Knox? Like, what from your research did you think Bradley had better or Knox had better than each other?
I think I might actually be able to pull up the spreadsheet.
Oh,
I might not. It might not be able to, but
very pop.
I might.
I'm just curious because I've been to Bradley to see improv shows because we try to interact with other improv clubs in the area.
Right.
It's a nice campus. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel as open though. I don't think as
Yeah. It's not. It's not as open and it's bigger. It's there. There are more students
hmm.
who are there. Um.
Yeah, aren't
But
we gonna have like even less students this next year than we did last year? I thought I heard that
yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. I also did. But it might be on my other computer. I don't know.
Hey, it's
Um.
whatever. But yeah, I mean, Bradley
Yeah.
was
But
yeah. Go on.
yeah. So one of the things that was in Bradley's favor actually was um cost because at Bradley I wouldn't have to pay any tuition,
Mm,
and at Knox I would be paying what like $6,000 in tuition every year.
yeah, because of
Um,
that deal you were talking about earlier.
right,
Where yeah.
exactly. It's the amount is the same as Bradley's tuition, and Knox is a little bit more expensive.
Mm.
Tuition wise, I'd have to pay room and board either place,
Yeah.
but that's about it. Um,
Mm. So,
but hmm?
so your heart must have been really set on Knox then, because well, also could be you might be fortunate enough to not have money be as big of a concern.
Right, it wasn't a huge concern for me because like my parents agreed, okay, $50,000 toward a college education is what they were willing to commit to.
Mm.
And I did do out all of the math, and Knox was one of the like so Bradley would be completely covered by the tuition exchange and my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Knox would be covered by those two things and federal student loans, and nowhere else would be covered just by those.
Mm.
Everywhere else, I'd have to, either earn money or take out private student loans. So that was definitely something that put Knox and Bradley into the
Yeah.
much more possible
Okay.
box.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I guess the difference there, it was honestly there weren't there weren't there wasn't really any categories that I remember being one of them had a really high score and the one other had a really low score.
I mean, that
It
makes
was
sense.
just the combination of a lot of little things that I think
Hmm.
what put Knox ahead. Um, and I think that, you know, it was an accurate representation of why I wanted to go to Knox. There were a lot of little things.
Hmm.
Um, like Knox doesn't have a speech team, but the Bradley speech team is super competitive. And um, I did speech in high school, but I didn't feel like I needed to, do that level of competition in college.
Yeah.
But the Bradley speech team is like legendary and cool, and I went to speech camp like 3 times with them, and it's very cool. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any like
Sort of.
really obvious
But it does
differences,
kind of
but
make sense because they were so close in point value at the end. They probably
right,
were
yeah,
very similar. For
yeah,
me, it was very much the personal aspect of it. Like Knox is like one of the only college I like sent anything to that was like, hey, we have an actual person talking to you, and
oh yeah,
got to
yeah,
visit the
that'll,
campus, and yeah, it was just nice.
mm-hmm,
There is something about when you visit campus because you normally visit in like the springtime.
mm-hmm.
There is something about it where I'm not gonna say that I was duped or lied to, but but it was definitely maybe it's just rose tinted glasses, right? When you first see the campus, you're like, oh,
Right,
this is
yeah,
great, and now I've seen it for what? Not even like I say 3 years, but I'm not on campus all year, So it's like
right, yeah,
whatever the time frame is, and I'm
like
already used to it.
yeah. I
um,
mean, yeah, that does happen, and as you get to know somewhere better, you notice all of the less good things about it more.
yeah,
Um, because they're easier to see, but I'm still happy
yeah,
with being a Knox.
and
Um,
with this quarantine and the coronavirus thing, I think everyone's missing it.
oh yeah, for sure. I
Um,
know I definitely am.
like we don't have to really get into it, but like part of my concern with all of us coming back is I'm really skeptical about how well the student body will social distance. Not because of any ignorance on their part, but I just think
But
people are.
just because the risk and the reward of I want to go see my friends.
Yeah, I want to
Um,
hug my best friend. One of those things like,
yeah,
it's definitely it's like a built up thing, and yeah, it'll. I don't plan on doing that. I'm gonna try to social distance well and all that, but
right.
I'm also no better than to think that we're all gonna go to campus. No parties are gonna be had, no get-togethers are gonna be done. You know,
Right, yeah.
what isn't the size like no more bigger than a group of 10? Isn't that the agreed upon, or is it
I'm not
smaller?
entirely sure. I haven't,
I feel
but
like
that does sound like something that was true. I My mom went to a virtual funeral where because only the only like 10 people could come to the real
yeah,
one, to the in-person one rather. It's like plenty real.
hmm,
Um
yeah,
even when it's virtual.
yeah,
Um
for sure.
but yeah.
I it's the whole thing of like I almost guarantee there'll be some sort of college party one of the first weekends we're back.
Yeah.
Um, my bet,
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's gonna
I would
happen.
not be surprised. I would be surprised if I went, but I would not be surprised if there was one.
Yeah, I just worry, but I also know that like I don't know if Knox financially could really. I don't know. Like maybe I have a lesser opinion of how Knox is doing financially, but I feel like they kind of need the room and board money, at least a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. I Finances are hard and complicated and important, and
Hmm.
it's a rough time for everyone. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have been really thankful for like the networks I have online, especially
Mm.
on Discord though. Just how many friends I have that way,
Yeah.
and I honestly think, I mean, honestly, like, I'm comparing myself to my parents because, that's who I'm living with right now. But I mean, I do think I've been coping with the relative isolation better because I have, contact with, you guys and other people through the internet that, my parents just don't have those networks built.
Mm.
Um, so I do think that does help, but yeah, I wanna see people again.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I just want to see people again. I want to have class again. It's weird. I want to have class again.
Yeah,
This
yeah, okay,
yeah, this summer has been
yeah,
so long. Like
mm-hmm.
um but
Yeah. It's somewhere between the it's 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 feeling like a long time since I did things, but also there's only this much time for me to do everything I need to do. Oh no.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
which is how I feel 90% of the time anyway. But it's fine.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's how I feel to kind of that's how I feel about our D&D campaign in a lot of ways. To kind of jump into that. Like um
That's super valid, honestly.
yeah, the feeling of like, oh man, you know, what I have Trisha can continue to do online, but she's graduated, and it's like I only have so much time for the campaign to be wrapped up. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
um, but I'm optimistic that we will get there without too much of a rush. Um,
I'm glad you are. I'll do my best. Um.
so for everyone else to know, I have been campaign DMing rather a campaign that has spanned from winter term my freshman year to still running the summer after my junior year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
People have come and gone. The only one who was there at the beginning who is here now is Anne,
Yo,
who is our lovely
it's
guest today.
been us.
Yeah.
Been it's been a really fun time, honestly.
Yeah, it's been a ride, and you would think like with all the shifts and stuff that it'd be kind of like disheartening, but like
Nah,
it kind of makes it
nah, it's
feel like a
fine.
more real story because people do come and go in real life, you know?
Right, yeah. And honestly, the fact that it's flexible enough that it stayed a coherent story
Mm.
even through that is honestly really cool to me. So yeah,
It helps to have at least one character that was there at the beginning,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Um,
I do imagine it does, but
um, but
yeah.
a big part of that um, is a lot of times in D&D, like if you're introducing a new person or a new character, right? Because sometimes people want to switch to a different character or whatever.
Right.
The introduction of characters is like big deal, hard thing to do. Um, and sometimes you do it really well. Like I think the introduction of Malaya and Pip was particularly great. Um, the Zola introduction was just comically good enough. It was like hiding behind curtains, and then Zola was essentially like, "These people seem fun," and stuck around, um, which was also good.
Hello?
Oh,
Are we
were you?
back?
Yeah, you're good. Were you not able to
Okay.
speak?
I couldn't hear you for a bit there.
Oh, I was rambling on about character introductions and how they're uh, sometimes difficult to do.
Yeah, but hey, we managed them. We
Yeah,
managed them,
and
and I think our current party's been our current party for a while now, and it's
I
very
think
solid.
I think a majority of our campaign has now been with this party.
Yeah, I do think so. At least most of the things I remember have been with this party.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, since it's the longest campaign I've ever done.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Um,
And I think it was my first longest running, like even longish running one, and definitely it's been my longest one. So,
yeah. Um,
um,
but
my very
yeah,
first one was the other one you did
yeah,
freshman year.
which ran for very short.
Yeah, but that was my first one, and then This one was like my second, maybe.
Was that your first
Um,
D&D or your first role-playing thing?
I think that was my first like structured RPG.
Oh wow. Well, I'm honored to have been that for you. Um,
Yeah, I might have done. Wait, I think the one shot my sibling did for me for
mm.
my birthday one year was before then, but other than that, yeah.
You I think you always remember your first or the first few like RP experiences you have, or you remember them
Mm-hmm.
fondly.
Oh yeah,
Um, and
and
yeah, go on.
it only grew from there, and so now I have um at least two Pinterest boards with like at least 13 sections each devoted to my characters. Um,
I think you're more involved in the RP community than I am probably.
I mean, as far as like community singular like applies, I that's valid because I have like at least let's see, at least four different groups.
Yeah.
One or at least one of which has like six games.
Hmm.
So um
Whoa. Yeah, that's a
just
lot.
give me one sec.
No worries at all. Technical issues. No, but for all of you listening, we're probably going to be talking about D&D a lot now, role playing stuff because it's fun to talk about. Um, so buckle up. That's what we're going to talk.
Hi, I'm back.
Hello. Um,
Hi. Yeah,
so
my our backyard flooded yesterday. So
yeah.
I think Dad is working on doing that. So he's got a pipe with a pump at the bottom of it going just
Ah.
directly upward in the backyard. But anyway, yes, D&D. Um,
Yes. Um, yeah. So you're involved in a lot of group. Like I'm only DMing. I'm not a player in anything. I'm not. I'm only currently DMing one thing. Um,
yeah, that's valid.
to be fair,
But
it's the biggest thing I've ever done. So
oh yeah,
valid.
yeah, it's that's super valid. And I have much respect. But yeah, I mean, I think most I think most of my things now are like the sort of RP where it's like no, there's no
There's no what?
and there's no one DM.
Ah,
It's just a collaborative storytelling thing. Um, and yeah.
how does that work? Not having a DM but a collaborative.
Um, well, okay. Honestly, it depends on the people. Um,
I that as with many things.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was one group that then turned into another group because of drama that then fell apart because of drama.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely more opportunity for drama. I mean, I don't know if there's like more because there's definitely opportunities for drama when you do have a DM,
Yeah.
but just it can be harder to deal with, but it can also be if everybody is agreeing that okay, the point of this is to have fun, to tell a fun story, and like you're willing to talk to each other out of character about it, it can be a lot of fun. And also like because there is a lot of deciding, okay, who's gonna win this fight? Who's going to does that actually work when you try and do that?
Mm.
So I've got one group where that's worked really well. I've got another group that's partly that and partly more freeform stuff where it's worked well. And then yeah, and then the one group that fell apart because
Drama.
yeah, drama. And okay, also at least one of the people in there was like and like the only person I've ever met who I utterly convinced is just an asshole. Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
and I'm just like, I'm not touching that. I'm not dealing with that
Yeah,
anymore. So,
we need to meet at least one person in our lives who is like that, I think. That we just
I mean, I think there's enough of them that will, but he's the first one I've ever met.
hmm.
And hello, Kitsy. Hi. My cat is here.
Oh good.
Um, so, um, so like playing, doing that with him didn't go so well.
Yeah.
Doing that with people who have a much closer like RP mindset and to me worked. It's been great. I've been RPing with one particular group for like at least 3 years now.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
good.
and like the group has changed and shifted, and but honestly, I also think that I've become a better writer
Be-
because even though pretty much all I write is RP stuff,
yeah.
that's still like writing a bunch of words like consistently almost every day
Yeah.
for like a couple of years.
Yeah, no,
So,
it 100% helps with your creativity. And
mm-hmm,
you're just I think it helps with so much. It helps with teamwork, ability to think, your improv. I think it helps with a lot of things.
mm-hmm,
Um,
yeah, and it's a lot of fun. So,
I mean, that's the biggest
um,
thing.
yeah,
You
and I never get bored because I can just be like, which of my 20 characters will I think about today?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And,
So,
and as a and the big I think that's the biggest thing for both players and DMs is you want to make sure it's fun.
mm-hmm,
So like
yeah, that is
yeah,
the point,
the point is for it to be fun. Um,
right?
so as a player, I think one of the hardest things to balance is to be involved but not be too involved. Because
Right.
sometimes yeah,
Be invested enough to care, but not so invested that when something goes wrong, you're devastated.
yeah,
Um,
or I'm actually okay with you being devastated, but I'm kind of like my as a DM at least, and as a player
mhm.
somewhat, I get more annoyed with like people who want all the attention all the time.
Yeah, that. Oh yeah, certainly, yeah. Like when you pin your entire self worth and want all of your social interaction to come from one game,
Yeah.
let's not. Um,
Um.
but I mean, there is a level of, but it's like that kind of self involvement where if it doesn't go exactly how you want it to, you just hate everything. That's not great.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the point
but
of
you
dice rolls is that it might not go your way. You
right
know.
exactly, and see that's also one of the major differences between like an RPG with a DM and one without, and like just an RP without that
Mm-hmm.
is that there isn't usually the dice roll, um, and that can be both that can help because you can be like yes this character is this badass and they will always be this badass.
Yeah.
Um, but it can also cause conflict with, that kind of thing of deciding of when one character wants to be this badass and the other person doesn't, or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
as long as you can like actually communicate out of character, it's usually fine.
it's a big ask. Some people.
Oh yeah, it super is.
Yeah.
But that's honestly, people are always like, yes, communication is the most important thing in any relationship. And I'm like, yes, this includes RP. Um, being able
100%.
to step back and figure out, hey, what do people actually need or want from this?
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of super important.
Yeah. Um. It 100% is, and um,
Yeah.
with the DM side of things, like RPs that have DMs, like DM is such a funny term now that we have the term DM, like in terms of direct messaging.
Yeah, this
I
is
always
true.
I always
Yeah.
hear it when I say it. Um,
Um,
so you recently DM'd,
I did.
and
I started
so
running an RPG.
I have some sort of philosophical questions to ask you,
All right.
because I'm
I've
always
only
curious
done
to
two
hear.
sessions, so I don't know how well I'll be able to answer, but
Well,
I'll go ahead and try.
I'm wondering if you can speak at all about how what differences do you feel there are between, now that you've kind of experienced both, between player and DM, like the differences in that, how it feels to do
I
one
mean,
versus the other.
yeah. I mean, I guess there's definitely a difference in, are you trying to pick up on clues, or are you trying to lay them out but not poke them too hard?
Mhm.
And there is, I mean, there's definitely a difference in the level of, do you know the answer, or are you trying to figure out? I mean, I'm doing the answer, quote unquote, because, like, I guess in some ways, a lot of that sort of thing, there is, if there is, like, um, if there is, a written out campaign story, I have a much better idea of how people are like, okay, yeah, I'm planning a session or planning a campaign,
Mm.
um, and creating material for it, because I did it once, um, and I have a better idea of, oh, that's what that's supposed to mean, um, which it's it is a different. I don't know. It's like, do you think about one person, and is your fractal interest inward, or is it outward? Are you like,
Mm.
yeah? Does
That's
that
a
make any sense?
No, that's
I
a
don't
really
know.
good way to put it, because when you're a DM, you're thinking about all these things, like these. Uh,
Right? You've got the people, you've got the culture, you've got. Oh, I can make up another character for that,
mhm.
and then as a player, you're more.
You're in a
At least I am more. How does my character think?
Yeah, it's the
Um,
difference between, like, kind of what you were saying. It's the difference between like inward and outward. It's the difference between like point of view and
right.
sky view.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it first person, or um is it uh third person?
that's you could probably find, like, I bet one of the very observable differences between a DM and players is that a DM, when they think about the story, they probably think about it through a third person point of view. But
Yeah, most likely.
when a player thinks about a story, they probably think about it very much from a first person point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thinking about my interactions, it's, yeah, I'm definitely, like, sometimes it feels kind of self-centered to, like, want to talk about a campaign when you're a player, because it's like, I'm because, at least for me, I'm always thinking about, oh, how will this big thing affect my character?
Yeah.
How can my character affect this big thing? Whereas, like, as a DM, it's, oh, how will this big thing affect this other big thing?
How will
A little
this
bit
thing
more than,
affect the players? Or yeah.
right, yeah. Um, and and basically, I wonder how this world should, react to what the players do, instead of trying to gain a reaction from them. I guess I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
to
yeah,
to be honest, it's not that hard to get a reaction out of your players.
this is
Um,
true.
like, because they'll react to things you didn't even think they'd react to.
Right.
And it's great. Sometimes
It's
they
like,
won't react in the way you think they will, but
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, I'm trying to describe, yes, death by asphyxiation. How do I explain this? And then I'm like, it happens sometimes when people are locked in with internal combustion engines, because I'm not sure if there are cars in this universe. Um, but, um, and then it was, oh, they attached more significance to that than I thought.
yeah,
That
to
does
your
make sense,
descriptor.
though.
Yeah.
I can see, looking back at it, um,
Yeah, because if they hear your sort of description, I mean, that's what they're gonna think of. So,
Right, yeah. If I say internal combustion engine, they're gonna think of an internal combustion engine. I
uh,
wonder why that would be.
one of the funniest instances for me with this campaign was a lot of times describing the Lutesses or having them talk about things. I'd be like, how can I describe this thing without outright saying it's Big Ben or it's, you know,
Right, yeah.
it's like a clock tower. But what helped is I already had established a clock tower in the world, so that
Right,
was
yeah.
beneficial.
So at least you can call it a clock tower.
Yeah, I
You
can be
can't
like,
call it a large tower with a circular thing on one
yeah,
side.
I can at the very least be like, it looks very similar in some ways to the clock tower in Valor, but it is very clearly different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And you know, the times when we're like, ah yes, when we figure out what it is out of character and then we have to, have our characters say something about it.
mhm.
And just be like, ah yes, how will this character think of a record player?
Yeah, exactly. Um, Actually, one of the things I look forward to when we get back into it is I think we've already kind of had downtime activities with you guys, but I think we'll probably have a bit more of that because you guys have stole a record player. It's like in the hole, I think, and have all
Oh
sorts of
yeah.
silly stuff. So
Cooper is
like,
just in some room in the airship and I'm very excited.
yeah.
We're
So
gonna have gonna figure out, oh, does knowledge of the ages work on record players? Even if you don't, even if I'm not sure Thoth knows what a record player is,
I don't know what's knowledge of the ages.
it's one of my channel divinity things as a knowledge cleric where I
Hmm.
can take an action to become proficient in any tools and like any tool set or anything. I think, for 10 minutes.
It would. My guess is it would have to be in the purview of knowledge of Thoth. So that's actually debatable. I don't know. Does Thoth
Yeah.
know about that?
I mean, Thoth could probably have, watched Rasputin use it, so he
True.
might have an idea of how to use it. I don't know if he'd be able to say, ah, yes, this works because there are grooves and the needle goes up and down.
Yeah.
Um, and, or however a record player works.
Yeah. Huh.
But, yeah.
I I I will say in terms of your character, which is Azizi Nemnosha, the halfling
I am
cleric.
a halfling knowledge cleric from steampunk Ptolemaic Egypt, and I'm still so happy that you let me be from there.
I'm happy that you came up with that steampunk Egypt. Like, um, it was just such a fun thing. It was like, all right, and that's another thing with DMs is I think letting players kind of form the world can
Right,
be
yeah.
fun because you can be like, because why only use your own creativity when
Exactly.
players have their
And
own?
yeah, I do honestly a lot of that at this point with the collaborative world building because that's what you do when you're doing, a collaborative RP is a lot of times it's collaborative world building. And I've noticed that I put steampunk into everything. I think I like steampunk.
Yeah,
Um
you'd probably really like the outer plane of
Mechanus?
Mechanus then, yeah, because that's all it is. It's just steampunk.
Steampunk, steampunk,
It's
steampunk.
just it's just steampunk afterlife is what it is.
Excellent.
That's the thing I think people
Excellent.
forget a lot is that the outer planes are the afterlife. It's where people go when they
Nice.
die.
That's
Um,
very cool.
and we forget about this. So like Mechanus is where presumably the people who were all about their work were very like clockwork in their lives. Like every day, it was like
Okay.
always on a schedule, not really chaotic at all. Just those are the kind
That's
of people that would go to Mechanus, and then they'd
that
continue
makes
to just
sense.
do their clockwork work there. They'd
Yeah.
sleep not because they have to, but because that was their schedule in life. So
Yeah.
keep doing it.
I mean, I guess if you enjoy that, then that sounds
Yeah,
great. But
yeah,
I would rather visit Mechanus
hmm
personally and marvel at all the cool clockwork.
yeah.
Which okay, now I've suddenly gone from that through this one Skyrim character somebody told me about to why are all the scientists evil? Um, which
Scientists are often evil.
I know, and it annoys me so much. Like, come on, media, give me some role modeling. I want to be a sympathetic scientist. Why are all the scientists evil? Um,
I was about to say, well, in our campaign, a lot of the scientists have been evil, but then I went, actually, no, the Lutesses were like
the
neutral,
Luteces were good, and I'm so glad. I'm
and
so glad.
um,
But um,
I
I
mean,
just like,
yeah, good.
yeah, like I personally like I really appreciate the whole mad science aesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
but I also really like the good science aesthetic. Um, but yeah, I mean I've made my own share of mad scientist characters, um, with questionable ethics,
Yeah.
but um, I've now it's only been like maybe a month or so that I've really started thinking about hey, hey,
Why are all
um,
these scientists evil?
why 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 are all I mean I feel like part of the issue might be that most writers are writers, um and there's more of a the population of people who may have been intimidated by math is probably higher in writers than it is in say computer scientists.
Yeah, writers
um
might be instinctually thinking like, "Oh, those STEM people, those soulless,
right,
heartless."
exactly. And but
Yeah.
like and I'm just like, but no.
But no.
Um, which like
Some
I
of us,
understand
yes,
it
but
because yeah. I mean, there have been evil scientists, but there have been a whole lot more good
Mhm.
scientists. Even though when you have a crazy scientist or whatever in your media and you want them
Yeah.
to do feats of quote unquote science that is technically magic. Which I'll get behind that. It's fine, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
but just I mean, yeah, I can see the appeal of it, but I've decided that what I'm going to make sympathetic, morally decent scientist characters, and it'll be good.
Mm.
But yeah.
Th-
Anyway, that was a rant that I've
no,
had in
it's
my
an
mind
important rant though.
for a bit.
It's all of a
I mean,
sudden
I
made
was
me
reading
think,
on TV
yeah, good.
tropes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was reading on TV tropes about like the science hero, and it had a little paragraph about how they've fallen out of favor due to like I don't know if it's like postmodernism or anti-postmodernism or something anti-enlightenment something,
Mhm.
because like you have the movement of like the enlightenment where yes, logic, and then you have the romanticism which is against that, and then that cycle has kind of happened again
Mhm.
where people are like, but just logic is boring. I want to have emotions. And that's probably contributed to the decline of the science hero trope, and but the vaguely evil, possibly scientific, possibly corporation,
Mhm.
um, has been on the rise.
Oh,
And
for sure.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm totally behind villainous corporations. You can make a corporation as evil as you want. I'm not gonna care.
Yeah.
Um,
There's probably business majors out there who are like, "What's up with all these evil corporations?"
well, yeah, probably, but it's also like, okay, look at your life, look at your capitalism,
Mhm.
think about your choices.
It is a very
Um,
different thing because businesses, their priority is profit
right,
inherently.
and if your priority is and like, of course, there's the core issue of your priority is like anything over human well-being,
Hmm.
you're gonna turn evil.
Yep.
Um,
That is the core thing. Even with the mad scientist trope, it's
but
always
yeah,
if they
even with
put.
mad scientists, if your idea of a scientist is truth or knowledge or logic or whatever idea of science that there is more important than human well-being or sentient well-being, sapient well-being, whatever, um, then yeah, that's how you get an evil scientist.
Well, I think that's kind of what makes Thoth fun because Thoth could have easily become like a very gray deity, but part of what I thought would be fun was to say like, well, there's also like self knowledge and interpersonal knowledge, and
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not just value in like book knowledge, but also value in getting to know other people and yourself.
Yeah.
And Thoth would embody all that kind of knowledge.
Soth is so sweet. It's like I love it so much, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
And part of why, because Thoth, I don't know if started that way, but definitely transitioned to that. But
mm-hmm.
a lot of that has to do with I had in mind and was creating characters like a potential elder brain, ooh woo, uh,
Ooh, woo.
ooh woo, that
Oh, whoa.
but would fit more into the category of knowledge for knowledge's sake, and not as
Right.
much
Not as much into the
and
knowledge for people's sake.
yeah, so
Which I think Azizi like calls herself true neutral and says that she values knowledge more than anything else, but like she will hide information and she will lie for her friends.
yeah.
I don't think she's fooling folks about that.
Speaking of evil scientists, though, your character Zizzy has a esteemed hatred for an engineer,
Yes.
close to science, like scientist, essentially.
Yeah, because she's freaking evil.
Yeah.
And she betrayed the nation. And okay, I will also say there is part of that where Azizi chose to trust her, and by being evil, she made Azizi wrong, and Azizi is not willing to put up with that.
That was a fun thing because I made Cochra like a really likable character.
Oh yeah, and like even out of character, I was like, oh yeah, she's awesome. And then you had her like be evil, and I'm like, excuse me. Okay, now she needs to die. This is not okay.
But that's true of life. So, like, especially when you first meet a person, it's hard to know what's going on underneath. The one guy who went with you into the pyramid, who turned out to kind of not be all on the up and up. I forget his name, but there was a halfling who accompanied you guys in the pyramid.
Oh yeah.
Who stole something. You know, I feel like you could have easily been like, he doesn't seem on the up and up. Like I think you guys were even keeping an eye on him, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Just
And
because
like,
he was a bit more of like the grimy academic type, I guess. He wanted to
right,
write.
and
His
like,
thing was, I want to write a book, right, on this. It wasn't for the sake of
mm-hmm.
anything. It was for his own pride.
Yeah. Which, like, I mean, yeah, there are unscrupulous academics.
Hmm?
I know, as an academic, I know this.
Yeah.
As a self-proclaimed academic. But, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still considering having Azizi having had a crush on Kakra at some point in her life.
Hey.
Partly because, like,
you got.
I find the idea of Kakra's character as, like, the brilliant engineer compelling enough that my character does too, because she's at least she's she started out with a little enough personality that she was basically a self-insert at that point.
Yeah.
And grew from there, so that I think she would also find that idea compelling. But also just, then she betrayed anew, and Azizi's not okay with that.
She betrayed steampunk Egypt. That's not okay.
Yeah, it's not okay. She betrayed her hometown that, like, she, helped build, and like, also she left her Warforged son in an empty house.
That she did.
I don't care if you're saying you're trying to protect him from the stuff you're doing. You don't leave your less than 1 year old Warforged son alone in a house.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true.
Azizi has no patience for that excuse, which I don't even know if she actually heard that. I think Remus told Pip.
Yeah,
that,
I
I'm
think
not sure
so.
Pip has told Azizi that. But I heard it, and I know that Azizi has no patience for that crap.
Yeah.
She might be slightly biased about it, but she also has no patience for that crap.
Yeah. So, for those few who may be listening,
oh yeah, hi.
This is
Context, yes.
this is they're part of a group called the Freeing Wind. That's their adventuring party. And Kakra is a member of a sort of rival adventuring group known as the
The
Hand of Want.
Hand of Want.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference in ideologies just from the names, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
like, well, what like literally Hand of Want is just like if there's any anime listeners, it's like literally it's any not stereotypical necessarily, but like it's basically any anime evil group where you have like the Akatsuki from Naruto or the League of Villains from My Hero. Like it's just your villain group. It's like a group of villains working together to some end.
and the heroes are going to stop them.
Yes, actually,
they're going to destroy the world, and
maybe
I'm not a fan.
maybe sooner than later. That's been the craziest thing to me is because I began to realize that you guys weren't gonna like save them for last. Um, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't gonna
like,
even give them
we
the
don't.
chance
We
to
would
race.
rather
Yeah.
not have that showdown on the moon.
Yeah, a bit too risky.
If we can like just kind of stop that and not have to worry about getting to the moon before them, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd be happy about that.
There's a super powerful end of like conquer all things weapon.
Yeah,
on the moon.
Um,
Uh,
the Hand of Want wants it, and the Freeing Wind doesn't really want it, but would rather nobody else use it. So
maybe just wants to destroy it, right? Is that a thing?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's there might be some conversation about that. I don't know if there will be debate, but because you kind of have three options.
I think most of the debate is going to be, okay, do we destroy it as is, or do we actually try to purify the energy in it?
Yeah.
And make the gods more powerful? Because even though Aziz is a cleric, she definitely had the idea of, you know what? I'm kind of okay with the level of power as it is.
Yeah. Because you have no concept of what that would look like.
Right. Like, gods being able to walk the earth more easily. Like, okay, that'd be cool. But, okay, honestly, Azizi also has a bit of a selfish thing about, but wait, if Soph can just come down here, then I'm less
You're less important.
Yeah. And she's not exactly happy about that either. So, so yeah, she definitely has the idea of just destroying it as is, and if they can't get, the purification MacGuffin from the evil people, then, well, they'll use the MacGuffin they do have and just destroy it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of MacGuffins, but
there's a lot of MacGuffins.
Most long-running fantasy games end up with a few MacGuffins.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. Powerful magic items, MacGuffins,
Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is.
It do be how it is.
But then you have some MacGuffins that are more powerful than other MacGuffins, and so it evens out.
Oh yeah, you've got like the Uber MacGuffins, and then you've got your run-of-the-mill MacGuffins, and then you got your mini MacGuffin.
Yeah. You guys have your hands.
How many mini MacGuffins there are, but
the
the
Plantia are like mini MacGuffins because like nothing happens when you bring them all together. They're just all
really useful.
They're just really cool.
Them to get around the stuff you haven't wanted us to do a lot.
Well, I gave them to you, so.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it, both of them are purely tools or inherent. Like, I know you guys use them for different things, but like they're basically tools for like planning, research. I mean, that's kind of what the basic idea of the tools are, but you can use them in creative ways. So.
Yeah, and like honestly, planning and research are really useful.
Mm-hmm. There are other Plantia that are just like crazy power. Like the one that the Hand of Want have lets them.
Is it like yeet?
Yeah, they can yeet anywhere. They can go to any plane like that.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't think we would use it as much as we use the ones that we have.
Hmm. That's funny. Yeah, like it kind of goes that you guys are close enough to encountering them. I don't really mind saying this, but most of your guys' adventures have been in like the material world, material plane. Most of the Hand of Wands adventures have been, you know, out
In
in the
other
outer, yeah,
planes.
at other planes. That's what they've
Yeah,
been
but
doing.
we're like, hey, the people are here.
Yeah,
That's the important part.
they're like
Um,
fighting demons and devils and stealing things from, they're doing shenanigans out there. But
oh yeah, I'm sure they are. I mean, we also like stole a thing, but we also like deposed a mildly despotic ruler, um, who
yeah,
was doing bad things. So like, um,
that's true.
we have our priorities. We we think of our priorities the way they are, and I'm pretty happy with them.
Yeah.
Um, but
Um,
honestly, yeah, the showdown with the Hand of Wand is gonna be anime as heck.
no,
Um,
it is. It's gonna be the most anime thing we've ever done, because it's literally gonna be
super
like
will.
it's literally gonna be like the hero group versus the villain group in any
It
anime.
will. Yeah, unless we can get them alone and single them out and take them out that way, which would be useful. But we'll see how that goes. Um,
I'm as DM, I'm skeptical, because right now the way they have it set up, it's pretty. You get, you guys have probably got an idea based on their movements that like they're kind of in the like same mindset of you of like let's just go ahead and have this conflict.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just
we're getting to the point where we're like side eyeing each other across the Great Hall, being like, okay, we're not gonna get all that much further without just we can't stop. We need to stop just try getting in each other's way and
yeah.
just decide this at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, no, under like yeah, it's like okay, it's time. Like
It's like, all right, we're gonna run into each other. We're gonna have a big fight. We're
uh
gonna win.
Renoa
Both of
during
them
the
are
fight
saying,
might turn to your side. Who knows? All sorts of stuff will probably happen.
yeah, gosh, Azizi doesn't know what to do with Renoa, and Anne has like about as little idea as she does.
Yeah. And what's going to be really fun about the fight is that so the big bad MacGuffin also has a personality to it. Um, is that big bad MacGuffin's going to be like watching, going to be like, oh, I wonder how
Oh
this
my
will turn
god.
out.
Hmm?
I was saying the big bad MacGuffin, right, which has a personality to it, will probably be watching
Oh
and be like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
oh, how will this turn out?
Yeah.
Probably rooting for the Hand of Want because they have shown a bit more interest
Um,
in,
yeah, a little bit more sympathy to its plight.
yeah,
And
and
the freeing like is just like, screw you, go away.
more
Um,
likely to lift it out of the stone, right? Like more likely
yeah,
to yank the sword out,
yeah, and
Um,
allow themselves to be taken over.
yeah.
Whereas the freeing wind, like,
Or not. There
pretty.
is the potential that it doesn't happen. It's very unlikely.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure. It's yeah. The big bad has its wants, and I'm honestly kind of both looking forward to and kind of scared for what what it's gonna say to his Vivi.
yeah,
Um,
he's tempted every party member so far except Izzy. And
except his Vivi, and
probably
just
will happen.
makes yeah. I think I've been playing the Izzy's like really high wisdom score is just really ingrained self confidence. So I'm feeling pretty okay about how she'll react, but of course we'll have to see.
Yeah.
It'll depend on what it says. Um, but
And here we have what we were talking about earlier where like me DM, right? I'm thinking like all right, what does the Dawn Eater weight? All this variables, and then you're of
right,
course thinking,
you're
what is
thinking about
Izzy?
the
Yeah,
entire world, and I'm thinking about how is this going to affect my character. Right, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a DM wants whatever they come up with to be satisfactory
Mm-hmm.
when it does show up, which is
Oh yeah.
which part of the like when the Dawn Eater showed up to which is the big bad MacGuffin. So
Yeah.
showed up to Zola and she turned him down so quickly. Part of me was like, "Oof, did I do this wrong?" But I think that's just a testament more to Zola's character than
Yeah.
his attempt.
I
Because
mean,
his
I think it's
yeah
the same with the guy who was like, ah, yes, nothing has any meaning, and the entire party was like, okay, but like no. Um, that wasn't. Yeah, it was just like I think that was more of a. Yeah, that was definitely more of a party thing
yeah
than anything else.
yeah.
Um,
And then you guys made that man a friend and have
yes, it's like, hello, you are ours now.
yeah
You are our friend. Hello, come on our ship.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the thing I mentioned before we started recording, the script I'm writing for like a chapter
Ooh,
0 of a
yes.
webcomic thing. It's from I'm not that far into it, but I already have an idea. Like it's from the perspective of the adventuring group before you guys, which would be Salia and them.
Sally and Company.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Very
it's
cool.
actually set 20 years, exactly 20 years before
Nice.
you guys. What I mean by that is it starts with like narration from a journal entry from one of the members, and the date of
Nice.
the last journal entry in the journal will be the first date from your journal for this campaign, but 20 years ago.
Nice.
So it's full cycle.
Nice. I
Um,
like it.
oh yeah, and it's gonna. The plan is it's gonna show because it's been talked about in our campaign before. Like it's gonna be a bit of it's gonna be the last journal entry, then it's gonna be real time 20 years ago. Um, uh, them going to their sort of last location before they kind of split up and disappear.
Okay.
Um, which the last location being Pedron's little village in Bellum, and then
I
having that
see.
interaction with Pedron that inspired her, and then them going off. You know, the mysterious things Pedron talked about, like how Salia was like, we were
Yeah.
too early, and all those that cryptic stuff.
Yeah. It's like, hello. Okay. Y'all
Yeah.
are cryptic. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Salia,
Uh,
just saying, Salia is like slowly becoming a beloved character in my heart just because she started, she's always been there ever since the beginning of the campaign, and she's becoming, she's
right. And
being
she's
mentioned more.
been coming up
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then what? This is more of sort of the surprise at the end of the script I'm gonna write. It's just gonna be like at the same time in the world 20 years ago, and I'm gonna be like, it's gonna show like you know you what 20 years ago would probably be you'd be 30 and
Uh.
halfling years and probably learning under your mentor. So like cut to
Yeah.
different like what
Yeah.
are
What were all of us doing 20 years?
learning how to walk, not even born yet, like different things.
Yeah.
But just kind of cutting to like
Azizi is still
locations.
just like Azizi still. It's like I find it kind of amusing how much older Azizi is than a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the cast. Um.
It's really funny. Like
Yeah.
Zola is 18, I think,
Right. Yeah.
and
And
Pip's 17.
Malaya's not very old either. She's like maybe in her 20s.
I want to say
And
she's like
Azizi over here
22
is like
or something.
50.
Yeah.
She's 54 now because I was like, you know what? Most D&D characters aren't middle aged, are they? I'm gonna make my character vaguely middle aged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're either really old or like young.
Yeah,
They're
they're
very
either
rarely
like
middle
so
aged.
old as to be, immortal or like teenagers. Which we're all 20 somethings.
It makes
I
sense.
wonder why that happened.
Yeah.
Which I mean, part of me, that does play into my I don't actually know how someone with the maturity of a 30-year-old acts.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's
Azizi might act kind of immature, but it's fine.
playing
Um,
playing a character helps you learn a lot about your like that there could be whole books written about like how certain
oh yeah,
playing characters and stuff reveals things about yourself.
oh yeah. Like I'm looking at, I have like at least 4 or 5 characters like the same internal worry, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Um,
Yeah, you
yeah.
begin to realize like, oh, these are
Maybe
things.
maybe I have this trait too.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
really enjoy doing that.
yeah. So for anyone listening who does D&D stuff, like, um, a you should totally after a session or before a session, like spend time just talking about the campaign, kind of like what we've been doing here. Um,
Talking about philosophy based on your characters is like amazing.
yeah, it's fun to kind of go into why is this, the way it
Yeah,
is, and
talking about your character's
yeah,
internal thoughts is like my favorite thing.
yeah. Because
Great.
it helps the DM too, because it's like a it's nice to have the feedback of like, oh, okay, they're enjoying this enough, like, um, because I think something you'll gather if you haven't gathered already, like I think being a DM is so much more like self-conscious conscientious stress than being a player sometimes,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. It's definitely more. It's definitely more of like a performance
mm-hmm.
of you're performing something for other people than being a player is. I think.
Yeah. Oh no, like doing voices and sound effects and stuff, like sometimes you're like I really want to go all in and do like a crazy voice or a crazy snarl, but like then you're kind of self-conscious about it, or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's
um,
like valid, but also I'm here saying, do the thing. Yes,
yeah,
interest.
do the
Um,
things.
do the things. Cringe culture is going to die. I'm going to murder it myself because I can't actually do that because it's
It's an
a bit.
intangible thing.
Yeah.
Unlike the world of Mendralia, intangible concepts are not given form in the shape of
Yeah.
gods that you could maybe kill.
Oh no. If cringe culture has a god, I'm going to strangle it.
Um, no, I don't think there's any god currently that exists that would fit into that category. But
Good. Good.
maybe there
Keep it
should
that.
be like a god of shame, because shame's a concept.
It is, but like,
But I guess shame is slightly different from cringe, because the reason we cringe is because people don't feel shame in something,
right. But
and
also,
that's us judging them for that.
right, and then
Yeah,
judging it for them, and then being like, ah, yes, enjoying things. That's a nerd thing to do,
yeah,
and I'm
it's
like, come
cringe.
on, just let people enjoy things.
Being cringe over people enjoying things is cringe.
Oh yeah, and like also, I have also like decided myself that I'm going to try not to make fun of middle school Anne because middle school Anne was doing her best
Yeah,
and she deserves respect. Um,
that's a valiant thing. That I think that speaks a lot to you, because I don't think a lot of people can look back at younger versions of themselves and be like, you they were doing their best.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like a lot of people are like cringing at my middle self, and I'm like, you don't need to do that. I mean, part of it is definitely motivated by the fact that I cannot abide the thought of myself in 5 years cringing at me now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I might, but I really don't want to. So I try not to cringe at myself from 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, that's a self compassion. Yeet.
I
Um,
mean, that's a big thing, I've been talking to my friends about, and sort of self-compassion, like such a big thing.
mm-hmm.
And I think if you're going to do anything, be it D&D, college, like self-compassion is one of those, like, you need to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's honestly it's an important thing to have in life in general.
yeah.
And I think it helps in a lot of ways. Uh,
Yeah, no, for
yeah,
sure. And that's some I love how I keep going. I am technically recording this, so some of the tangents I could go on would make no sense to anyone, but I almost don't care. I was gonna say
yeah,
like the big bad in the campaign, the Dawn Eater, like literally, it's not like a real person in it. It's just like a
right. It's a figment of negative emotions and self-hatred. Like,
Yeah.
that is the exact opposite of everything we stand for, you know? So
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense that, but, and oh, you know what? Being able to, like, look at that and be like, maybe that's one of the reasons it's better able to connect with the Hand of Want than Swinging Wind. That might make some sense.
Yeah, there might be an element of self-doubt and self-hate in that group that
Right. And then the Freeing Wind, we have those, but constantly, like, deliberately building each other up and saying, no,
mm.
you're valid. No,
Yeah.
you're important.
Yeah.
Also, like, I think I've, like, tried to have Izzy be like, oh no, I have failed. But it never sticks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's just too self-confident, and it's weird.
Yeah, like because she can at times recognize that she has quote unquote failed, right?
And be like, oh no, I failed the entire universe by not being able to heal people. Oh no, people died and it was my fault, clearly.
Listen,
And she says those things, but she doesn't internalize them.
Brady may have been the one chosen by the universe or whatever, but like that would have been Harry Potter. We're here to tell a more interesting story than Harry Potter.
Exactly, exactly.
um,
Um,
so
and like she's like she has this thing where like I should feel bad about that, and then she's like, okay, but actually, but like it's like okay, that kind of sucks, but on the other hand, my lichens are going really well, um, and just yeah,
yeah, that's yeah. It's just all sorts of
it's really fun. I enjoy thinking about her because she's both like really she's both like kind of wild and kind of completely not.
yeah.
And it's kind of wild how completely not wild she is. Um,
So
like outwardly.
yeah. So and for the record, every time I say this to anyone who's listening, it's gonna be like my mom. It's gonna be like very few people, unless it does grow and people are like, "Oh, what's episode 2 like?" And they'll look at it. Um, but I guarantee you on the outset, it won't have a lot of viewage. But that's okay because all it needs is for me to be able to look back and go, "I want to listen to this conversation between me and Anne."
Yeah.
But what this really has come down to is me just being like, "Yeah, let's talk about my campaign."
Well,
We're both in it. So like
we're both in it, and so you let me also talk about my character.
true.
So
So I guess we're both being a little selfish here then. That's okay. That's the
yeah,
ideal.
but it's
That's
fine
good.
because we're both enjoying it.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Therefore,
um,
we're perfectly fine in it. It's good.
yeah.
Um yeah, like so almost back to kind of the very beginning like me, I want to allow you guys the players to have the breath to be your characters and do the things you want to do. But it is also like, man, it's like I kind of have a year
Yeah, we
to
have
do
a
that.
year to get everything done. Um,
Theoretically, we have like school year and a bit of summer probably, and theoretically.
yeah,
But what
yeah,
might help is that we could. Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah.
There.
Just
Yeah, go ahead.
we can probably continue somewhat online if we have to.
Yeah, we can. A when August comes around, and Alexis is back from camp, we'll be able to start back up again
Mm-hmm.
online, and then since we're used to doing online, we can probably do a bit during winter break. I doubt we'll want to do one. It depends on people's lives, but I'd be
Yeah.
okay if we didn't do one, Christmas week or what have you,
Right.
because
Yeah.
time with family. But um, we could probably do that, and that'll
Yeah.
help. If we can do a few during Christmas break, that would be like a, whew, off
Yeah.
my shoulders
That'll.
of
It's
like,
like okay, we're moving. We're moving.
yeah, we're
Um.
going. Because
Yeah.
in my mind, there's Encounter with Hand of Want in Ohm, which is Zola's home.
I see. Yep. Yep. That's been. We've been building up to that,
There's
trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, there's that at some point. There's lycanthrope hunting, which is like going to be like a side
Yeah. That's
journey.
a that's a hardcore side quest.
Yeah.
Um.
we have what's under Donamab Astris.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Because
You
I
have
made
that.
it a point to say one of the visions when the dome goes down is that starts to rise. So
Right, yeah. So we need to handle that.
yeah, I kind of made it a
Or
point to be like, unless you
that
want
needs to
everyone
be
in Dona
handled.
Mabastras to die, that
Yeah,
should probably be handled.
we need to handle that. Yeah.
What else? I mean, there's the potential side quest in Paradisum with the smuggling people from place to
Right.
place. Um, there's the stone things happening in Dunvale,
Oh yeah, that.
and then there's the Gladius stuff.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
So currently, this is you looking behind the curtain in a way. It's like currently for me, I think because I know pretty much know for a fact that you guys are gonna probably beat in however way you do it, right? Like beat the encounter, right? Of the
Right.
Hand of Want relatively soon, actually. Like it's in the near future. So the
Yeah, we're going to Ulm. They're going to Ulm. We're gonna meet up. It's not gonna be a civil
yeah.
conversation. Um,
So um and this works out pretty well. The real final boss is really going to be Gladius, and I think that works out pretty well.
right. These
Be-
are gonna be Gladius or like I don't know if the Dawn Eater counts as a final boss.
that's the thing. So
Right.
sort of
What
in
are we gonna? Yeah.
throughout the campaign, I've been like, oh, Goldfinger will somehow beat them there, and then it'll be this whole epic final showdown. Um, but it's looking less like that because you guys are smart. So like applause to you. So what I think Gladius is probably going to be the last like combat boss.
Right. Yeah.
The
And the
Dawn Eater
rest of
is
it
going to be
go.
more like a dungeon crawl sort of, getting
Right.
there
Yeah.
and
Yeah. We gotta figure out a way to get there, get to the thing, and then deal
destroy
with
it.
it.
And there will probably be not like necessarily combat, but like maybe the closer you get to it, the harsher it gets, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, it'll
It's
be
like
more of
he
a
can probably tell that we're not gonna come and have tea.
yeah.
Um.
Um,
Actually, wait, no, that would annoy it even more though. Just be like, yes,
yes.
we are going to sit down. We're gonna have tea, and we're not going to pull you out of the stone. You're not invited to the tea party. Um.
And then, well,
Yeah,
there
that
is the
seems to be a nice thing.
potential.
Anyway.
There is the potential, and I say potential because I don't. You never know what your players are gonna do. That you guys
Right.
show up at Dawn Eater, and one of you goes yoink.
Yeah. Then they'll be the
Then
final boss.
then they'll
And
be
it'll
the final
suck.
boss.
And it'll suck.
It'll be fun. It'll be great.
Yeah. In character, it'll be a sad time,
Yeah.
but if you make
Um,
one of the Pokemon do it, we all be sad. But
this is definitely a behind the scenes thing. I kind of intend for it to just be the main party that goes up to the moon.
cool, awesome, sounds great.
That's mostly it's kind of from a like a pure like campaign thing of like the last mission
Right, yeah,
should probably just be the party
right.
proper, just to be ceremonial about it.
And also so that you only have like one side of the encounter to take care of, possibly, maybe.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, the biggest encounters I'm gonna have to worry about in the future are Hand of Want and Omega City potentially.
Right.
But Omega
Which,
City, I am not. I've kind of learned my lesson from the whole mansion heist.
yeah.
I think I'm gonna have you guys roll initiative and have bad guys roll initiative that you guys are interacting with, but do the rest like behind, like maybe at the
Just
top of
like
every
roll like 3 dice and see how like
yeah
20 people do.
or
Or whatever.
and it's sometimes like the people go, oh, that's cheap. Sometimes it might just be, you know what, I'm the DM, there's so much going on right now, I can't be asked to roll for everything, this makes
Yeah.
sense, right? Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
let things go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna object.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
we just go like
Yeah, just go.
yeah
I mean, if Chaser had been disintegrated off screen, we might have been sad. Well, more sad. But
it was on screen though, but it was good.
It was on screen, and Azizi feels somewhat responsible.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that too. But hey, she made sure it didn't happen to Damien.
Hey,
Um, so it's
that's
fine.
good.
Heal is an amazing spell, and I didn't know it was ranged. Um,
It happens.
yeah,
Um, but yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I am
Azizi
as well.
is somewhat stressed, but um,
And
yeah.
then when all is said and done, whatever you guys decide when you get there, right? When you get to the Dawn Eater and all that happens, whatever happens,
Hmm.
then we have the big epilogue session,
Oh yeah.
which is
Figure
always
out
fun.
what happens to everybody afterward.
Yeah.
That I
RP a
mean, I'm
few
already
things,
like,
like if there's a wedding, RP a bit of that, you know.
yeah.
Um, and just sort of have the end happen, and then everyone will be
Hmm.
sad but happy, and
Yeah.
or really sad
Hopefully
if you
everyone's
guys lose, you
satisfied.
know. Or really sad if the epilogue session is um, so you all died, and this is what happened to
Yeah.
the world after
Yeah.
your
There's a
deaths.
TPK. Yeah. TPK will be a sad time for
Mhm.
everyone. Um.
I still may like. Here's the thing: we're pretty late game now, so I'm definitely a little less like gun ho about one of you dying.
Hmm.
Um, but you know it can happen, man. And
It can happen. It can
I
happen.
don't know what I would do that. We're just so late game. It's one of those like almost from like a story perspective. You're almost like,
If
but
someone was of an appreciable level to join our party, we would know about them by
yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, eh, it's a big world one, and some people aren't as public.
Yeah, true.
But like,
But still.
yeah,
Anyway,
still,
honestly, as long as Azizi's alive and you have some
yes,
bodies, we'll be fine.
exactly. That's one of the
Azizi
things
says
too.
this even though she has not actually managed to use Fi on an ally like ever.
Yeah,
Um,
that is one of the things. They have you, so the
yeah,
likelihood that any of them are gonna die,
permanently die
very slim.
significantly lower.
Yeah,
Um,
you
yeah,
know, so it should be okay. Um,
yeah,
there
it's
does reach
fine.
a point when you have a cleric where you're like, we're probably not gonna die. We could still die,
We can
but
still
like,
fail all our death saving throws, but are we gonna die?
nah,
Probably not.
probably not. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um, and same to all of you who may be listening. Like a lot of stuff's like, especially right now in the world with COVID and everything. Like it's really rough right now, but as long as you're safe and keep your clerics close, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. You won't die. Just keep your clerics close.
Yeah.
Um, and
I like that.
yeah, keep your clerics close. Uh, social distance, be safe, and it'll be okay.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
with everything going on and the world, and we're kind of approaching the hour 30 minutes, so we might just end it here soon. And we can
Yeah,
keep talking
that's
afterward,
valid.
obviously, but if we
This
want.
has been
But
really fun though.
yeah, and we'll do more things. Will being the royal we. I might have Anne on again in the future.
That would
But
it'll be fun.
yeah, for sure. And we might do
I have
group.
so many more things I could also talk about.
Yeah, that's 100% the thing. And sometimes it might not be just two people, it might be groups. Who knows? But
That would also be great.
actually, while we were talking, I had the thought of I should do like a big group one of just talking about D&D, but come prepared with like topics we can go down a
Oh
list.
yeah. Ooh, that would be very cool.
Yeah, right.
Gather all the D&D people and just
That
talk about it.
maybe not all. That would be a lot.
Okay,
But
not all of them. Several D&D
several.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
But yeah, this has been what's going to be the second episode of Skyline, which will go up at some point. I need to decide what the upload schedule is going to be, but right now I'm just going to try to
I wish
record a
you
few.
luck.
But yeah, and that'll be it. So I'm going to stop recording.